بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله وعلى آله وأصحابه أجمعين والسلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. This is our program Spirit of Values and this is Dr. Tariq Rashid. We'll continue in this episode the importance of the value of benchmarking, how to apply it. It's a cornerstone to achieve the value of excellence. Now let's go deeply into the planning process for benchmarking. So in the planning, we have to decide the following. What type of benchmarking to perform? Is it internal? Internal means I would like to compare between departments. For example, what is the performance of the HR department compared with the financial department, compared, for example, with the procurement IT department? This is an internal that will help me as a top management to read the gaps in some of the departments. Why, for example, the performance of the HR department is lower than the financial department? Are there any obstacles? Can we achieve better performance? Sometimes for the competitive purpose, we read our competitors, why they are achieving better than our organization. And sometimes we go only for the process rather than we process. For example, we need to benchmark this process in the flow chart. Choose the type of data to be collected. It's very important to decide, and we discussed this in the previous episode of data collection for the benchmarking. It's a major step in the planning process for benchmarking. And decide on the method of collection. Is it site visits? It's a questionnaire, surveys, focus group. So we have to decide, identify which organization to use as your benchmarks. Always take an average. For example, who are the best organizations, the top 5% or 10% in this process or in the main functions that we are doing, and define the average and the organizations lower than your performance. So choose a random number of organizations, which means that you read the average organizations, the best 10%, the lowest 10%, to read and start thinking what to plan, how to move forward in the process of improvement. Make a timetable to adhere for each task in the plan and have a desired output. For example, from this plan, we need to gather 1, 2, 3. The team would be 1, 2, 3, 4, and the time is a timetable for this, and we decide the output of the study. This should be always appear in the planning process. In studying others, use internal resources first. Apply data in the public domain. What is the public domain? Utilize the original research, and usually we recommend that the department of R&D is very important. It's the main department that will be helping us in our benchmarking, research and development department. If we don't have this, at least we should have R&D unit, research and development unit. If we don't have this unit, at least in each department, define 2 or 3 persons for the research and development. Then we collect the data from them and we'll get the research and utilize the research, compare the research with the other organizations, the international research in the market, and we combine all or some of these for the studying purpose. Then we learn from the data. Is there a gap between the organization's performance and the best-in-class organization? Usually try to read the 10% highest performance organizations in your market and compare. How can we bridge this gap? How can we reach a better level of excellence? What is exactly the gap? How much is it? Are we behind, for example, 25%? More than this? In time, if they are doing the process in 30 minutes, we are still doing in 40 minutes. So there is a 10-minute gap. How can we measure this? How can we be in a better performance? How can we get to 20 minutes rather even to be like the organization or other organization? Why is there a gap? Is it because lack of resources? Is it because lack of technicality of our team? Is there no support from top management? Why is there a gap? And here we recommend that we do what we call a fishbone diagram for why do we have the gap. So why, and we set why do we have the gap and start thinking of the main causes of this gap. So we may have, this is cause number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So we define why do we have a gap, then we choose the most appropriate one and the most critical. For example, maybe this is the most critical cause of the gap. What does the best in class do differently that is better than us? How the other organization deal with such a cause? And we try now to apply how to reverse the action and remove this cause. If best in class practices were adopted, this would help us to move. So try to take the best practice, make a some sort of trial and error process, and then a pilot study, then move so we get and we learn from the data that we gather in order to develop a good model for our excellence in the market. Learning from the data again, studies can reveal 3 outcomes always. So whenever we do the research and the plan, we will have negative gap. So external process better than internal process. Or parity, process performance approximately equal. Or we have a positive gap, internal processes better than that found in external organizations. So whenever we have a good positive gap, we are leading the market. We should always think of continuous improvement to be always in the best. And sometimes if you reach the good performance, don't rely on this. You have to keep moving. Continuous improvement is a must. Read the market. So even if you have a positive gap, keep going. The problem if you have a negative gap, we have to think, why do we have this negative gap? How can we proceed? How can we develop? What are the main causes? How to reverse these causes? And if we are equal, also start thinking how to be better than others, how to be even the best in the market, in the performance. Also, learning still from the data, at least 2 ways to prove a superior practice. We go for analyzing quantitatively, which means quantitatively that we give, for example, some sort of quantities, which means I have to have measures. Summary measures, ratios, activity cost, return on asset, return on investment, try to reach measures. Could be percentage, could be time, hours, minutes, could be money, dollars, euros, whatever. But you have to have some sort of quantitative measures. If we don't have quantitative measures, we may go for some qualitative measures. Excellent, very good, good, medium, below medium, poor. This is quantitative measures, but we always prefer quantitative measures, always by numbers, by percentage, speak louder than words. Then market analysis. Does the market prefer one process over another? The price outside services. We try always to minimize the cost, accelerate the time, enhance the quality. So how can we achieve this 3 issues? Best quality, lowest cost, and the quickest time is the main target in all performance of benchmarking studies. Then we get the findings, how to use the findings of the study. When a benchmarking study reveals a negative gap in performance, now our objective is to change the process, to close this gap. Sometimes we go for total, what we call destruction, which means we remove this process. We start with a new process that would accelerate our performance. Sometimes it's very hard to deal with a gap which is very negative, so start a new process totally with new ideas. 2 groups must agree on the change. The process owners, those who run the process, for example, the manager of the department and the top management. Sometimes the team that will do the process, we have to agree with them because they will implement and do the job. The upper management in order to give support, resources, providing decision. So we use the findings in this method. Using the findings again, generic steps of action plan. Specify the tasks. So we have task number 1, 2, 3, 4. These are the tasks that in order to improve. Sequence these tasks. And usually to sequence the tasks, we have to study some sort of relations. And usually 4 types of relation to sequence the tasks. There is a relation called finish to start. This is in project management, it's called FS relation. And this is a conditional relation. For example, this is task number A, and this is task number B. When we mention finish to start relation, it's a conditional. I cannot start process B unless I finish process A, so it's like this. I cannot start process B unless I finish A. It does not mean that I should finish A, then start B. No, in order to start B, finish A. But maybe I go for what we call a start to finish relation. A start to finish relation. In order to start B, to finish B, you have to start A. So as I am connecting the start with the finish. So to finish B, start A, please. Another third relation is what we call start to start. In order to start B, you have to start A. So we connect the beginnings. This is SS relation. To start B, please, you have to start A. And logically, the final is what we call finish to finish. This is A, this is B. To finish B, please finish A. So we'll find this type of sequence. So we agree with the team, sequence the tasks, determine the resources needed for each task, what are the resources. And usually here we do what we call resource breakdown structure. It's called RBS, resource breakdown structure. It's like this. So these are the tasks. Task A, task B, task C, whatever. Then we define the resources that we need. For example, what are the human resources needed? For task A, we need 3 members from the IT. We need 2 engineers. We need 1 secretary. Then define the technology needed. We need, for example, a certain software. What are the machinery needed? Materials. And then you sum up the total. So by this, we define the resources. So determine the resources, then make a schedule, which means we start this project, task A, on, for example, May, 1st of May, 2022, for example. Then you determine for each task its schedule. Here we recommend that we use the project management techniques, then assign responsibility for each task. How to assign responsibility? We use another concept called RACI matrix. So this is resource breakdown. For RACI matrix, we assign the responsibilities. So what is the RACI matrix to help achieve this study? This is the team members. Who are the team members? Then we define R, A, C, and I. R is the responsibilities. A, accountability or authority. Then whom to consult is the C. And the I, whom to inform. For example, we have Mr. So-and-so, Ms. So-and-so. We define all the team members. Mr. A is responsible to do 1, 2, 3, while Ms. whatever, she's responsible to do 1, 2. The authority given to Mr., you define the authority. Whom to consult in making a decision. To whom to refer, for example, to top management. And whom to inform down to implement. So whenever you define the RACI matrix, you are relating the team with the responsibility. Then what are the expected results? And specify monitoring, process, and results. And usually we have to go for monitoring and evaluation. By this, we are using the findings of the benchmarking study. Then goals and objectives should be consistent with the execution of the action plan so that the end result is really will give a superior process. So always try to relate to the strategy, to the goals, to the objectives, be reasonable, use good team, give them good resources, then we put a schedule and we go for the achievement of the action plan. The best results are obtained when the process owners fully participate, which means top management should be part of the team. The team that will implement should be part of the team. This will help actually to get the best results. And the next step is to repeat the benchmarking process whenever applicable, whenever we feel that we have to move further. The benchmarking process must be used continuously to pursue emerging new ideas. The market is not easy. We live in a market with continuous change, lots of crises, lots of problems, but also we have lots of opportunities to proceed. Benchmarking would help us to move in this direction. What types of benchmarking do we have? We can benchmark the process. We can benchmark financial. We can benchmark from an investor perspective, performance benchmarking, product benchmarking, strategic benchmarking, functional benchmarking, best in place benchmarking, operational benchmarking. In the following episode, we will discuss all these types of benchmarking. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.